Hey students, today we'll discuss architects of the Indian Constitution, the visionary leaders who shaped the world's longest written constitution. The constitution was drafted by the Constituent Assembly, which included representatives from diverse regions, communities, and professions. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, as chairman of the drafting committee, is known as the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. Leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer played key roles in defining India's democratic framework. Importantly, women leaders such as Sarojini Naidu, Hansa Mehta, Durgabai Deshmukh, and Rajkumari Amrit Kaur ensured that equality and social justice were embedded in the constitution. In essence, the framers created a constitution that reflects India's unity, diversity, and democratic ideals, ensuring justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for all citizens. The work of the Constituent Assembly is not complete without a brief mention of the role played by those who contributed most to the making of the Constitution. In this respect, the drafting committee members come first. It's difficult to exactly assess the contribution of each member of the committee. Theirs was primarily a teamwork. Yet, some of them deserve special recognition for the outstanding service that they rendered in the framing of the Constitution. Key leaders such as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, C. Rajagopalachari, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and Rajendra Prasad, along with eminent jurists like Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, B.N. Rao, K.M. Munshi, and Ganesh Mavalankar, contributed significantly to shaping the Constitution. Now, moving on, we'll be studying in detail about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Ambedkar went into the Constituent Assembly as a Protestant. Acknowledged as almost the undisputed leader of the scheduled caste by the British, he was a relentless opponent and uncompromising critic of the Indian National Congress in its policies towards his community. In the opening session of the assembly, he was one of the very few who opposed the objective resolution moved by Jawaharlal Nehru. But subsequent developments, culminating into the partition of the country, made him realize that political realism demanded a moderate attitude on his part towards those who had in their hands effective political power. The Congress leaders responded to this gesture so generously that they elected him the chairman of the drafting committee. They could not have made a decision which was or could be more right. Ambedkar brought to bear upon his task a vast array of qualities: erudition, scholarship, imagination, logic, eloquence, and experience. With a rich treasure of knowledge of constitutional principles and practices in most of the leading countries, and his thorough and intimate understanding of the working of the Government of India Act 1935, he was able to meet any critic in the assembly and expound the principles underlying the Constitution in an admirable manner. In the Constituent Assembly, no one was so forceful and persuasive in argument, clear and lucid in expression, quick and arresting in debate like B.R. Ambedkar. Ambedkar's contribution to the Constitution is undoubtedly of the highest order. Indeed, he was a modern Manu and deserves to be called the father or the chief architect of the Constitution of India. Moving on, we'll be talking about Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer was undoubtedly the leading constitutional lawyer in the assembly. His knowledge of constitutional law was encyclopedic, and it proved to be of great assistance in the drawing up of many parts of the Constitution. Those parts of the Constitution which deal with the fundamental rights, Supreme Court, and High Court bear particularly the stamp of Aladi scholarship and legal acumen. Moving on, N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar. N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar also rendered sterling service to the work of the Assembly by assisting in the drawing up of many provisions which dealt with administrative matters. It was he who piloted the discussions dealing with the language question, one of the knottiest problems that faced the Assembly. Then K. M. Munshi. K. M. Munshi was one of the very first to associate himself with the work of the Assembly. He had an important role in preparing the draft of the objective resolution and the rules of procedure regulating the business of the Assembly. Munshi did commendable work to give the final shape to many of the important aspects of the Constitution. T. T. Krishnamachari. Krishnamachari had the distinction of being the only non-lawyer member of the drafting committee. Yet, the manner in which he dealt with the different aspects of the Constitution on the floor of the Assembly speaks highly of his mastery over legal and constitutional problems. Krishnamachari's contribution is particularly noteworthy in respect of those provisions of the Constitution which deal with federal system, finance, and interstate commerce. B. N. Rao. As constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly, Rao was a perennial source of assistance to its deliberations. It was he who paved the way of the Assembly's task by producing the first draft of the Constitution for the consideration of the drafting committee. If Ambedkar was the skillful architect of the Constitution through all its different stages, B. N. Rao was the person who visualized the plan and laid its foundation. His superb draftsmanship, as well as his clear, illuminating, and precise style, were of great assistance to the Assembly. Now, moving on to see about Rajendra Prasad, who was the president of the Constituent Assembly. The unanimous election of Rajendra Prasad as president of the Constituent Assembly was a proof of the great esteem and respect that he enjoyed among the members. Rajendra Prasad conducted the proceedings of the Assembly in his inimitable manner with dignity, gravity, and impartiality. He maintained meticulous order in the House. He was quite firm without being harsh or rude. He was particularly considerate to members who represented the minority communities and interest. Often he displayed his great mastery over procedure and his command over the law and the ability to interpret it. His decisions as president were always justified and hailed by all sections in the Assembly. President Rajendra Prasad was not merely a presiding officer. He was, at times, a brilliant participant in the discussions. With the vast and rich experience that he had as a lawyer, a public leader, and a man of erudition, he raised vital and pertinent questions. He did not hesitate even to cross-examine the chairman of the drafting committee with the view to fully clarifying difficult and complicated provisions. It was such searching analysis by the president that brought forth the best in Ambedkar, illuminating the entire situation. President Rajendra Prasad was indeed an inspiring example of a presiding officer who made a great contribution to the successful completion of the work of the Constituent Assembly. Now we'll be heading on to see about Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So students, as you all know, he was a chairman of Most of the important committees appointed by the Assembly, such as Fundamental Rights, Minorities Committee, and the States Committee. Whenever he spoke in the Constituent Assembly, he spoke with rare authority and tremendous power. He had a unique ability to silence his opponents with usual tact. He solved, for example, not only the problem of minorities, but also that of the states, two of the most difficult problems that plagued the Indian body politic throughout the first half of this country, and that too within a short period of 2 years with the skill of a magician. Now, we'll be seeing the role of women in constitution making in India. So, students, women played a crucial role in the making of the Indian constitution, reflecting India's early commitment to gender equality and inclusive democracy. They actively participated in debates, committee work, and policy formulation, ensuring that constitution guarantees equal rights to women. Some of the most prominent women members of the Constituent Assembly were Sarojini Naidu, Hansa Mehta, Durgabai Deshmukh, and Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. Now, firstly, we'll be seeing about Sarojini Naidu. As you all know, Sarojini Naidu was popularly known as the Nightingale of India. She was a freedom fighter, a poet, and a political leader. In the Constituent Assembly, she strongly supported democratic values, civil liberties, and national unity. She was also the first women governor of an Indian state, that's Uttar Pradesh, symbolizing women's leadership in public life. Moving on to see about Hansa Mehta, a social reformer and educationist who played a key role in promoting women's rights. She argued for gender neutral language in the constitution and supported equal opportunities for women in education and employment. She also represented India and the United Nations and worked on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, Durgabhai Deshmukh. She was a lawyer, freedom fighter, and a social worker. She participated actively in constitutional debates, especially on education, social justice, and welfare policies. She later founded the Central Social Welfare Board, which worked for women's empowerment and social development. Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. She again was a freedom fighter and India's first health minister. She contributed to debates on social welfare and health and worked to improve women's status in society. She played an important role in establishing institutions like AIMS and promoting public health policies. Thus, in a nutshell, we can say the participation of these women leaders ensured that the Indian Constitution reflected the principles of equality, justice, and dignity for all citizens. Their contribution strengthened the democratic foundation of India and promoted people's participation, especially of women, in nation building. Now, moving on to see the impact and legacy. So, definitely, when we talk about the impact and legacy, we can say that these architects of the Indian Constitution, they actually help in establishing framework for one of the world's largest democracy with universal suffrage. They talked about the equality principle that enshrines fundamental rights and protection for all citizens. And it created a comprehensive legal system balancing federal and unitary features. Thus, through teamwork, scholarship, and statesmanship, these leaders created a living document that continues to guide India's democracy. And with this, I hope the architects of the Indian Constitution is clear to you, students. And if you have enjoyed learning with me, do subscribe to my YouTube channel, UPSC Simplified by Anika, and don't forget to hit the like button for all my videos. Thank you. Have a good day.